Here comes Sims. Pedaling into the paint, leaning and hitting a 10-0 run to start this game for Indiana. And Minnesota wants a timeout. Caitlin Clark knows it.
What exactly did Kelsey Mitchell say in that locker room after Indiana pulled off their third straight win? Words that had the whole team buzzing. The Fever just took down the Lynx, and they did it without 5 major players, including Caitlin Clark. That moment spoke volumes about this squad's mentality as the playoffs draw near. Mitchell's message gave us the clearest look yet. This Fever team doesn't see themselves as long shots. They see themselves as true contenders rewriting the story in 2025. If you're hyped for playoff fever, drop a fired up for the Fever in the comments. Let's get it.
People will talk about Wnba not playing, but I think they're really good with or without her. You know, they're just a really great basketball team. So I think it was a big win for us because they set the bar high standard-wise. We know what to expect when it comes to Minnesota Lynx. And so I think going into the playoffs, it was big for us because being able to know guarding Courtney Williams, knowing that her thing is a pull-up, knowing that now instead of not knowing that, it's big for us because we give ourselves a chance. And if they are the standard, we get to see where we are.
How does a team missing 5 of its core players rattle off 3 straight wins against some of the league's toughest opponents? That's exactly what the Indiana Fever just pulled off. Not long ago, this squad looked like their season was slipping away, but now the turnaround feels like something nobody could have predicted. Caitlin Clark, Sophie Cunningham, Sydney Colson, Chloe Bibby, and Ari McDonald were all out of action. That's 5 rotation players gone, including the league's biggest star in Clark. For most teams, losing that much firepower would have been the breaking point, especially this late in the season.
You're done with the MVP, okay? Bow, bow, bow! Hell yeah. You already know what it is. Dubs in the chat, you already know what it is. You already know what it is. Let's go to the playoffs and want some momentum.
Not long ago, this was a team that had dropped 4 of its last 5 games. At that point, Indiana's playoff hopes seemed to be slipping right through their fingers. Fans started questioning whether the Fever even had enough healthy players to stay competitive, let alone knock off teams like the Lynx. The doubt was real. It felt like a season that once carried so much promise was on the verge of crumbling right in front of us.
One of the things that I've been impressed with these guys since even the offseason, really the ones that I was able to work out with in the offseason, is how hard they work. It's there's a work ethic and there's a work style, and to approach everything in the same way, to be so energetic, enthusiastic, and dedicated every day. And I felt that way in training camp too. There weren't any days where I had to bring that out of them. So I think it's the nature of the women that we brought into this organization to continue to just bust their butts and play hard.
But instead of falling apart, this group chose to adapt, completely reshaping their identity right in the middle of the season. Head coach Stephanie White drilled home one simple message: be where your feet are. It wasn't just a catchy phrase, it was a mindset shift. It pushed the players to stop dwelling on who wasn't suited up and lock in on who was. Every person on the floor had to embrace their role, maximize their impact, and make every single possession count.
On how many times you get knocked down, it's how many times you get back up. And these are things that you have to go through. I often say there's no substitute for experience, and the experience that these guys have had to have to continue to reinvent, to have to continue to find different ways to get back up, and to play through some different struggles is not just paying us dividends this season, but as far as what it's doing for our culture, it's going to pay dividends for many years to come.
That mindset came to life right away in their matchup with Minnesota. Indiana exploded to a 10-0 start, setting a tone that caught the Lynx completely off guard. They weren't sitting back, they were the aggressors. The Fever dictated the pace on both ends, knocking down shots, locking up defensively, and flipping the narrative. Instead of being buried by injuries, they were the ones controlling the game. You could see it everywhere. The vets battling on the boards, the bench players throwing themselves on the floor for loose balls. Everyone bought into the idea that their path to winning was to simply outwork the opponent on every possession. It wasn't always smooth, but it was non-stop, and that's the difference between just surviving and truly winning. The reward? That victory not only gave Indiana their first first winning record since 2015. It cemented resilience as their new identity. The story wasn't about who was missing, but about how they responded. And while the blueprint for this turnaround has been a team effort, it's also been fueled by individuals rising to another level, none more than Kelsey Mitchell, whose historic season is reshaping the future of Indiana basketball.
I love y'all!
With Caitlin Clark sidelined, the obvious question loomed: who was going to rise up and keep the Fever's momentum alive? This wasn't just about replacing her numbers on the stat sheet. It was about finding new sources of scoring, leadership, and energy. That's why the matchup against the Lynx was so telling. It proved that Indiana's depth isn't just holding steady, it's thriving when the spotlight hits. Fans had every reason to wonder if the offense would stall without Clark and Sophie Cunningham, two players whose shooting keeps the floor spaced. And honestly, the concern was real, but instead of slowing down, the Fever leaned into their versatility, and it paid off.
Only 8 teams have ever done that. 7 of them went on to win the title. As Boston gets free and lays it in.
She will be on my first team.
Boston in the paint, sneaks through 2 and lays it in.
Aaliyah Boston was more than just a defensive anchor in the paint. She became the engine of the offense. Operating out of the post, she played with the vision and control of a guard in a center's frame. She matched her own rebounding record, pulling down everything in her area, and every touch on the block forced Minnesota's defense to collapse. By drawing double teams, she created open looks for shooters and set the stage for her teammates to shine.
Here's Boston off the steal, coast to coast, heading for 2. Here comes Sims. A little hop. She took it inside the arc. Boston able to finish, but she was getting hugged, but was persistent.
And then there was Odyssey Sims, showing everyone she's far from finished. Off the bench, she poured in 15 points, playing like someone who had been waiting for the right moment to remind people what she can do. Afterwards, she called it a fresh beginning, putting it simply: the new season starts Sunday.
Turner finds the cutter. Sims using the window on a really nice pass.
That wasn't just a clever quote, it captured the exact mindset Indiana carried into this stretch. Sims gave the Fever a steady hand in the backcourt, controlling possessions and stepping in as a reliable secondary playmaker, something the Lynx never fully solved. Her performance spoke volumes about her preparation and about the team's confidence in her. And just as Minnesota started to build momentum, Aerial Powers flipped the script. She drilled back-to-back threes that cut through the net and instantly shut down the Lynx's push. In that moment, you could feel the entire game tilt in Indiana's favor.
Playing in her 8th game with the Fever in their ever-expanding roster because of their injuries. Williams went for the steal. Powers sticks the jumper from 3.
That was the clear side of the floor, and Atisha Heidemann read the defense beautifully.
Powers, good position on the interior. Draws 2, kicks it out. Powers, you bet! Back-to-back threes from Aerial Powers. Caitlin Clark, euphoric on the bench.
Those 2 makes landed like a dagger. It wasn't only about when they came, but the fearless confidence behind them. Powers let it fly without a second thought, and in doing so, gave her team the cushion they needed in a pivotal moment.
Draws 2 defenders, races away. Home, steps inside and flips it in. Really patient. Odyssey Sims with 13, Kelsey Mitchell with 12, Jessica Shepard with 12, Alana Smith with 11. Here's Hull, another.
Kelsey Mitchell.
Lexi Hull showed once again she's far more than just a role player. She was everywhere, switching across matchups, contesting bigger forwards, and still finding ways to contribute on the offensive end. Coaches love players who can guard multiple spots, and Hull's versatility has become a cornerstone of Indiana's defense. Combine that with her ability to score without needing plays drawn up for her, and it's clear why she's become absolutely essential to this team.
And Carlton gives it right back, and Howard cashes in
to perform like this, but they have 5 different players almost at all times who can bring the ball up the floor. Usually 4 or 5 were adept at making shots from deep. I mean, you just saw a big there creating her own look as well from Natasha Howard. Career high in terms of her field goal percentage, and you see her here, the little spin to the middle. That's a tough shot.
Natasha Howard quietly held the front court together with her steady play. She knocked down shots in rhythm, battled on the boards, and gave Indiana balance so Aaliyah Boston didn't have to carry the entire load inside. Her work rebounding and stretching the floor showed just how much she stabilizes this lineup, especially in games where the rotation is thin. By the time the final buzzer sounded, the stat sheet told the story. 5 different players scoring in double figures. That doesn't happen by chance. It's the mark of a team that refuses to lean on just one star. They've proven they can attack from multiple spots, defend as a unit, and trust each other to come through. And the best part, even in street clothes, Caitlin Clark is still fueling that energy, lifting her teammates from the bench and making her presence felt every single minute. There's something Kelsey Mitchell said after the Fever's win that people can't stop talking about. It wasn't a highlight play, and it had nothing to do with her scoring. It happened later, inside the locker room, a message that hit her teammates in a way that perfectly captured what this season has been about. We'll get to her exact words in just a moment, but first, it's important to understand why they carried so much weight.
You know, kind of all the other things like offensive rebounding that she can do.
Knocked away, Boston comes up with a steal. Here's Mitchell veering through the paint and lays it in.
She's so quick, and especially when she gets out in the open floor, you'll see her coming down. The quick left to right crossover just gets by. I thought she was sprinting. I didn't think she was lumbering.
It was a lumber sprint.
Up for the big girl.
Mitchell like a blur. That's a...
Kelsey Mitchell isn't just putting together a strong season, she's delivering the best scoring run in Indiana Fever history. For the first time ever, the franchise has a player averaging over 20 points per game across an entire season. That's not just another stat to glance at and move on from. It's a milestone that rewrites the record books for a team that hasn't seen this level of offensive firepower in nearly a decade. And when people point to Indiana finally owning a winning record for the first time since 2015, Mitchell stands at the heart of that conversation.
Kelsey, how much pride do you take in the fact that you started in every game now for 2 straight years, and on top of that, you're now the points per game leader in franchise history?
Man, I don't want to sound cliche, but I'm never gonna give up. I'm never gonna. If I'm able, willingly, 2 feet, 2 legs, 2 arms to play the game, because a lot of people can't, I'm gonna play. It may not, fall my way all the time, but you never have to worry about me not being present, especially if I don't have anywhere else to be. So that's just what that is. I'm never gonna not play and compete. You're never not gonna see me sit out if I don't need to. And so it's just about staying. I've obviously having rhythm and being who I want to be, but I'm all about basketball when it comes to just finishing it out.
The road to this point was anything but easy, with Caitlin Clark sidelined and defenses building entire game plans around stopping her. Kelsey Mitchell had every excuse to slow down, but instead, she kept delivering night after night. Opponents trapped her, threw double teams on the perimeter, and tried to deny her touches altogether. In the past, that kind of pressure might have led to rushed shots or costly turnovers. This year, though, Mitchell showed a new level of maturity. She learned when to take the big shot, when to swing the ball, and when to steady the offense. Those moments don't always show up in the box score, but they defined her growth. She wasn't just scoring, she was leading. She demanded the ball when Indiana needed a bucket, but she also trusted her teammates to step up, especially in crunch time. That balance between attacking and sharing created confidence across the roster. It's why players like Odyssey Sims, Ariel Powers, and Lexi Hull were ready to knock down big shots. They knew Mitchell wasn't trying to do it all alone. She made sure everyone was part of the fight.
Kelsey a lot, but now that you're her teammate, what stands out to you about her scoring and the way she goes about working on things like that?
Bucket, instant offense, try your best to keep her in front. Trap, that doesn't work. Hard heads doesn't work. You know, you just gotta play as hard as you can just to really keep her in front of you. Like, seriously. I mean, a lot of people say, I mean, it's a fact, but you ask who's one of the toughest guards, who's one of the hardest guards to guard, she's definitely number one.
I appreciate that.
Then you look at the numbers, career high averages and a franchise record for most points per game in a single season, and she's doing it while constantly drawing the opponent's top defender. Against the Lynx, every screen she fought through came with contact, with bodies grabbing and bumping her the entire night. Yet Mitchell still closed the game with 18 points. The way she managed to control the pace, even under that kind of relentless pressure, is proof of just how much her game has grown.
Here's Mitchell trying to find an angle, and does, just serving it in with the left hand. Aerial Powers made a big impact off the bench in the first half. Here's Mitchell, open three, it's good.
The Fever have made sure her breakout season isn't going unnoticed. They're not just letting the numbers speak, they're backing it with a full-on MVP push. From graphics to highlight reels to special features, everything is geared towards showing the league and the fans that Kelsey Mitchell deserves to be in that conversation. And the truth is, she does. She's not only leading Indiana back to the playoffs, she's solidified herself as the face of the franchise.
She has always been a scorer. For her to not just do what she does well and do it in an efficient manner, but then to take on playmaking abilities for her teammates, I think has really expanded her game a little bit and really showed what she's capable of doing. And by the way, we've had to put her on sometimes the best perimeter defenders or best perimeter offensive players, especially the ones that are in ball screens a lot. So we continue to put more on Kelsey Mitchell's plate, and she just continues to rise to the challenge. So I'm incredibly proud of her. You know, she's been through the ringer, and in this organization, and she deserves to continue to elevate her game in the way that she has, and under different circumstances. So I'm proud of her. She's carried it.
Clip. So what exactly did Mitchell say in that locker room? Just 4 words. You've seen our growth. Simple, but powerful. And the reason they hit so hard is because they weren't about her. They were about everyone. About a team that was doubted, overlooked, and yet kept learning how to win together, no matter who was missing from the lineup. That one statement summed up what makes this Indiana season stand out. They're not just surviving through injuries and setbacks. They're proving they're on the path to becoming real contenders. And at the heart of it, Kelsey Mitchell is the voice making sure no one forgets how far they've already come.
Ball was only on the scoreboard, but I think in order for us to be who we need to be for a playoff run, like the rebounding, knowing who we're guarding, like not having like live ball turnovers was kind of like, it was pivotal in that third quarter, and so we got gut checked because it could have easily flipped the other way, but I think you see our growth.
Clip, what do you get when a team built for the future decides to speed up the timeline? That's exactly what the Indiana Fever are showing us right now. Their first winning season since 2015 isn't just a stat, it's a signal of what's coming. They've pushed into the playoff race while breaking records and reshaping the way people view this franchise. For most teams, this year alone would be a success. 3 straight wins, battling through injuries, securing a playoff spot, that's usually enough to hang your hat on. But not for Indiana. The Fever aren't stopping at good enough. They're treating this run as just the beginning. This season isn't the finish line. It's the foundation of something much bigger.
These last 3 games were pretty high stakes games with playoffs on the line and whatnot. How much confidence does that give you going into the actual playoffs now?
I think it gives us a lot of confidence, knowing that we can meet the moment at times. You know, I think that, you know, when we get a chance to sort of reflect back, you know, it's how do we meet the moment in every game, as opposed to the ones where your back's against the wall. But every game is a back against the wall.
Clip, and through it all, Caitlin Clark hasn't faded into the background. Game after game, she's on the bench in her warm-ups, locked in, watching every possession unfold. She's constantly talking with teammates, pointing out matchups, breaking down plays, and preparing herself for the moment she returns. But when she does step back on the court next season, it won't be to the same Fever team she left behind. She'll be joining a roster with playoff reps, real chemistry, and unshakable confidence. The core is undeniable. Kelsey Mitchell rewriting history with the first 20-point scoring average in franchise history. Aaliyah Boston controlling the paint, shattering her own rebounding numbers, and dictating games the way only elite centers can. Add in a bench that's finally found its groove, with players like Odyssey Sims and Aerial Powers capable of flipping the momentum on their own, and suddenly the Fever look deeper, stronger, and more dangerous than they've been in years.
With everything that has happened so far this season, between the injuries and bringing new people in and all of that, does that make the fact that you have the chance to do everything right to win that championship, does that make that a little more satisfying?
I think so. I think I'm careful to say satisfying as opposed to pleased, right? Like pleased with what we've been able to do, pleased with how we've been able to do it, never satisfied. And I think that's it's just a part of staying hungry to accomplish things that you've not accomplished as a group before.
Clip coach Stephanie White deserves a massive share of the spotlight for this turnaround. Her standards over scoreboard approach has reshaped everything. Instead of adjusting to opponents, the Fever are playing to their own level, and that mindset has the entire roster thinking bigger than just the next win. Young players and fill-in starters are stacking up playoff minutes right now, meaning when Caitlin Clark returns, she'll be stepping into a battle-tested squad. Every injury, every lineup shakeup, every gritty win has been preparing Indiana for more than just survival. They're building the foundation of a championship window. This season was never supposed to look like this. It was framed as a year of setbacks, but instead it's become proof of what happens when a team refuses to break and keeps growing together. Injuries, doubt, tough losses, it didn't matter. The Fever turned all of it into their first winning record in nearly 10 years. And now, with the playoffs here, the mentality faces its biggest test. It's time for fans to rally behind this team, to push Kelsey Mitchell's MVP campaign, and to fuel a playoff run that seemed unthinkable just weeks ago. Even with Caitlin Clark sidelined, her presence still drives the dream of Indiana's rise. If you're hyped for the postseason, drop a fired up for the Fever in the comments. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss a moment. Click the video on screen. We'll catch you in the next one.